Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. Please continue to pray for me. A lot has gone on in the last couple of weeks. So it's almost like a life completely flipped upside down on me. First, well, unfortunately, the tariffs on China, and I no longer have a supply of bismuth to work with. But in theory, I became a millionaire over that, right? But I got to emphasize the words "in theory," right? I don't have a place to sell any of that stuff. Although something really interesting happened though. So I had to go pick up everything that I had for consignment, and the guy who was consigning my art says, "Wait a minute, can we sell it at a higher price?" And I was like, "Gee, who's gonna buy it?" And so I had a Geo that was kind of lightweight, and I just raised the price accordingly. I said, "Well, good luck, I guess." And he sold it that night. He couldn't sell it at the lower price, and he sold it at the higher price. And it's just really fascinating how the market psychology sometimes works. And unfortunately, that's the end of my bismuth career for now until Trump does something about the trade wars. Okay. And then there's another situation going on, which I don't want to bring up too much detail because it's ongoing. Um, but I've been very sleep deprived as of late because something's happening in Taiwan. I've been communicating with people. Let's leave it at that. And I got into almost a bad situation as a result of being sleep deprived. I had a situation where I had called my colleague an inappropriate name or something like that. I don't even know, and I couldn't remember that I had done that. And that's not uncommon for when I'm sleep deprived. I do stuff like that all the time, and I need to fix it before I get myself in trouble. I've gotten myself in trouble when I was sleep deprived in the past. It's not a good thing. Uh, what else is going on? Uh, but I also have to remember what set the tone for me wanting to get into this situation in the first place. You got to remember, last summer, uh, I was we had a heat wave. I had a long COVID, and so I was all alone, and I was scared to death. I don't want to do that alone again this year. Hopefully, I won't catch COVID-19 again, but the heat wave's pretty much guaranteed. I don't want to be all alone during that again. That was the most terrifying thing in the world. That was like hell on earth. 2 summers ago, 2023, which I prefer to call Taylor Swift's Cruel Summer, because that's all we listened to all summer long. I was also here in Phoenix, and that was a really cruel summer. I didn't get COVID that time, but I was all alone. I was still figuring out some things in my career. I had just started teaching at Maricopa colleges, and I was still figuring a lot of stuff out. I also didn't have a whole lot of money at the time, right? We had just reopened from pandemic, and so I was still bankrolling my art projects. At the time I had maybe I can't remember the exact numbers. I was still accumulating the bismuth to bankroll everything to get it going. I had maybe 1.5 tons of bismuth. I can't remember the exact numbers, and my bank account often ran on fumes. And then I was trying to figure out how to get the engine going with my teaching career. And then we had that cruel summer, and I 2022 I was in Seattle. That was the year I moved here. I moved here at the tail end of summer in 2022. But I don't want to go it alone this year. And that's why I'm moving heaven and earth to make sure that I don't go it alone. Especially here in the United States, we have a very individualistic culture. I often wonder what happens if all of the stars line up in the bad way, right? Imagine not only do you get sick during a heat wave, but you also have a death in the family. You also lose your job at the same time. What else can go wrong? You also suffer like a car accident or your house burns down at the same time. It could happen, right? I'm sure most of us have run into those things, usually not simultaneously, but it could happen simultaneously, right? And I wonder how you deal with that. I really wonder, right? Um, and unfortunately, we don't have a good apparatus here in the United. In Taiwan, we kind of do. But let me give you an example. My last day in Taiwan, I was juggling a lot. You got to remember why I was even in Taiwan in the first place. My grandmother had passed away, and then the very last day of the trip, I had a situation that it's something that I wish I could stay in Taiwan longer. Let's just keep it at that. But I had to go home, and I was so devastated by both of those events. And when I got back to the hotel, everybody, before I even said a word, everybody knew I was devastated, and everybody helped me pack and everything. That kind of attitude never happens here in the United States. Why? And that's why I don't want to go it alone. Also, last Friday, we realized that at Maricopa colleges budgets are being slashed. Right, that's no secret. But my colleague, who's about the same age as me, he's married. His wife has a similar job as the two of us, and it almost seemed like we weren't on level ground, right? Even keel, right? I go into the meeting with all of my livelihood at stake. He only has to put 50% on the table at stake. And it just didn't feel fair, right, in terms of our bargaining power, right? And that's also tilting everything. But the real challenge is the summertime. I could deal with the workplace bargaining power issue. I could deal with that. I mean, after all, there are benefits to not having to coordinate two different jobs in the same place, right? But dealing with the summer heat wave alone is what I don't want to do. If I end up all alone during the summertime, I plan to take a trip away from the heat wave, at least. I'm thinking of taking a short sabbatical. After all, budgets are slashed anyway. I'll volunteer to take off one of the two summer sections, right? And take a sabbatical, travel somewhere cooler. I haven't really decided where yet, right? Especially since budgets are being slashed anyway. I'll sound like a good guy by doing that, rather than, oh my god, I'm lazy taking a vacation, right? Uh, what else did I want to say? But I need to get good sleep next week. I caused a lot of trouble and drama and uncertainty this week by not sleeping right. I also need to get back on the saddle with good eating hygiene. My eating disorder has returned with a vengeance, probably way worse than where I started before. But eating disorders, sleeping problems. I also want to go back to the Computer Olympiad this summer because it's being held in Taiwan. That will give me a chance to network with the academia community in Taiwan. All right. So what are the main goals? Eating, sleeping, getting back to the Computer Olympiad, uh, and negotiating a sabbatical during this, especially if I end up spending the summer single again. Negotiating the sabbatical during the summer. All right. Please pray for me by leaving a dislike on this video. This is the Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum